Samach Gimel, we're on Samach Gimel Amid Aleph by the two dots, about 15 lines from the top. Samach Gimel Amid Aleph. We're coming back from the Mishnah. Makabel of Belay, Hava Haimeloi Eliata. Person who's Makabel idol, Avodah Zarah. He says, I accept it, or he says that this is my God. Amrav Nachman Amar Abarav Hu Amar Rav Kivin Sha'amalai Eliata Chayev. Since he said this, he accepts it. He's Chayev. Lamai. What is it? Legabi what? What does it mean? He's Chayev. Ilik Tala. If you say that he gets killed, Masnisan he. Why is Rav Nachman telling you what we just quoted from our Mishnah? Our Mishnah said that if a person accepts Avodah Zarah as his God, he's going to be Chayev Misa. El carbon. The chiddush of Rav Nachman, Amar Ravua, is saying you're going to bring a carbon chatas if he does it b'shayit. Vafilu Rabbanon. Even according to Rabbanon, and we're going to see what the Rabbanon means. Vatanya ein chayev ela al davar sheyesh b'maisa kegoin zivuach v'kita v'nisach v'shtachava. You're not chayev for being over on Avodas Kechavim, unless there's a Maisa, like shechting or burning or pouring or bowing down. These are considered, even bowing down is considered a Maisa. Rish Lakish, Man Tanish Tachava. Who's the Mandam who says even bowing down is considered a Maisa? Is Rabbi Kivi, the Amalai Binim Maisa. That he says you don't need a Maisa. Mechlal, the Rabban Savri Bi'inin Maisa. You see that according to the Rabbanon, you do need a Maisa. So how could you say that Yechayev a carbon for saying I'm a Makabel, someone who would say I'm a Makabel and Avodah Zarah? He says verbally that he's Makabelet. We just said that according to the Rabbanon, you need a Maisa. They disagree with Rabbi Kiva. It has to be an action. So Marki Kamar Rav Nami Rabbi Kiva Kamar. No, it says no. Rav is only according to that member of Rav that he says Yechayev for saying the Makabel and Avodah Zarah is only according to Rabbi Kiva. The Rabbanan who hold you need a Maisa would Taka disagree. They would say that's not considered. You wouldn't be Mechayev to bring a carbon. So Rabbi Kiva Pshita. According to Rabbi Kiva, L'chayr it's Pashat. Hainu Megadef. We just quoted Ein Chayev al Davar Sheyesh Maisa. And we said that Rabbi Kiva had said then just by so this is the same thing as being Megadef. Megadef is when a person is Mavarach Hashem. That's also no Maisa. So what is the difference? Why would you even need to tell me? What is Rav Nachman Amar Rav Barav telling me? Kivin Sha'amar Eliata Chayev. It's not any different than someone who's Megadef, someone who blasphemes. He's also the only Maisa he's doing is saying with his mouth. So this, and it's considered a Maisa, sufficient a Maisa according to Rabbi Kiva. So why would being Makabel Avodah Zarah be any different? So Rabbi Kiva carbon elam Megadef. Rabbi Kiva is only mechayev carbon by megadef, by blaspheming d'chsev by kares, since it has a din of kares. Aval hacha the likes of by kares, but over here that there's no. The Torah says there's a chi of misa, and we're saying maybe there's a chi of carbon, but we don't know that there's a chi of kares. For the Torah doesn't say specifically a chi of kares on being oived avodah zarah. Maybe we'll say that the chi of carbon only goes together with there's a kares. When someone only does something without a Maisa, Kamashmal and this Kusi Ishkas. Gemara comes to say that's what coming to tell you that there's a Hekish. The whole pasuk is Sarumar. This is by the Egel. You turned away from the path that you were commanded. Asulahem Egel Masecha. You built an Egel. You made an Egel. And you bowed down to be Yizukul, and you brought karbanos to the Vayomru Eile Elehecha Yisrael. These are your gods, Yisrael. Asher Helucha Meretz Asayim, that took you out of Mitzrayim. So, for the fact that it says Vayomru, it puts Vayomru together with Vayomru is just Bepeh, and we put it together with being doing an action of being Oived Avodah Zarah, that comes to tell you that it has the same din, that it's also going to be mechoyev, a carbon, just like where he does an action. Amr Rav Yechanan. Now we're just going to say a drasha about this pasuk that we brought about the Yidden by the Egel. Amr Rav Yechanan. The end of the pasuk was that the Yidden, that the Rebbe Shalom said, this is what you said. This is the God that brought you out of Mitzrayim. The end of the pasuk was Asher Halucha Me'eretz Mitzrayim, that that's a lashon rabbim, that multiple, these gods took you out of Mitzrayim. If they wouldn't have said the multiple, Nischai v'Rishayim shel Yisrael Kliya. It says the Rishayim, the enemies of the Yidden, but it really is referring to the Yidden. The Yidden would have been exterminated. Chas v'shalom. That means that because if not for the fact that they would have acknowledged that the Rebbeinu Shalom also took them out, they said a lashon rabbim. It's also, in addition to the Rebbeinu Shalom, it's also this Egel, all our other varied little idols. They also took us out, but the Yidden at least acknowledged that the Rebbeinu Shalom also took them out. That's what Rabbi Yechanan says. If not for that acknowledgement, they would have been destroyed. This is the Machlokes Tanaim have had a darshan. He says the same memra. Amaloi Reb Shimon Yochai Aloi Kol Hamashat of Shem Shemayim V'Davar Achar Neker Min Ha'olam. This is worse to equate the Rebbeinu Shalom with their avodah zaros. He says that the Rebbe Shalom took it out, took the Yidden of Mitzrayim together with other avodah zaros. Shenamar Bilti L'Hashem Levadai. It's only to Hashem. So you can only do Hashem if you can't make them equivalent. It just means to say that they had many avodah zaros, but they understood that the Rebbeinu Shalom was clearly, they knew that the Rebbeinu Shalom ran the world, and they had, in addition to this avodah zarah, they had other avodah zaros, but they didn't put them on the same plane as the Rebbeinu Shalom. They didn't equate them. The Halucha wasn't saying that these avodah zaros did it together with the Rebbeinu Shalom. It means to say that they, in addition to the Rebbeinu Shalom running the world, there's a bunch of other intermediaries that also the Rebbeinu Shalom has given over some dominion, but it wasn't an equation. So the Mishnah continues, it says the avoidus, if someone does avodah zarah with avoidus, he's chayiv, even if that's not the normal way. And Megaf and Rashi Mechavid and Meravet, so only if that's the normal way. And then it says if someone makes a shvua or a neder b'shem avodah zarah, he's also chayiv. You get a person gets malchus for doing any of these things, except for someone who makes a neder b'shem avodah zarah or makes a shvua. He swears his neder is that he says this thing should be also to me, or this person should be also to me. B'shem and avodah zarah, and shvua and mekayim is like a shvua where he swears this is the truth. I swear I didn't bang up your car. And he makes a shvuah on the name of an avodah zarah. So he says Yechayev for all the other avodas, for hugging or kissing or cleaning or sprinkling, those will be chayev, but not for saying a shvuah or neder b'shem. The loy laki mishum dahavli lav she'en b'maisa. Just saying it's a lav she'en b'maisa, you won't get malchus. Saktamara hani nami lav she'b'klalusu. These are also a lav she'b'klalus. Vein like an alav. Vein like an alav she'b'klalus. What is a lav she'b'klalus? We're going to see. A lav she'b'klalus is when a lav doesn't just include one thing; it includes a whole bunch of different things. So, the Tanya. We're going to learn a lot of things from the pasuk Adam, and from the fact that we learn, and all those things. Since you learn a bunch of different things, everything that's learned out from that pasuk is not going to get malchus. So that's going to be a raya that a lav she'b'klos doesn't get malchus. So how do we know that if someone eats from a behema before it dies? Well, it's still it means that he's shechted. It's going to die. He he sliced it, he shechted it by its throat, but it's still flopping around. You can't eat while there's still dam, while it's still live. Another thing we learn from that pasuk, you can't eat from the basar of a carbon as long as the dam is still in the kli. Before you do the zrikas dam by a carbon, you're not allowed to. The owner is not allowed to eat from the basar. Where do we know that we don't make a sudas havra? They make a special suda for someone who's a mourner, for an oval. But you don't do that if his relative was executed. You don't eat the sudas havra when someone is executed by Bezdin. I'm sorry?
Is this something that's customary now? The sudas
havra? Sure. When a person comes back, usually, basically the only thing that you do is other people serve them the meal. When they come home after the basic farce, they have a meal served to them.
Oh, that's what it's referring to.
That's a sudas havra. How do we know that a Sanhedrin that executed someone, that the Sanhedrin, the judges, have to fast the rest of the day? Learn from that pasuk. Azhar ben Saira min Amar Yechanan, Azhar ben Saira Omoira minayin. Where do we know an Azhar for ben Saira Moira that he's going to get Misa Tamalam? Actually, he's going to get Malchus. Tamalam le'seichel adam. You learn out from there that the Rashi said, "Leven Sarimar Deloy Inishal and Ken Hizer Vehechan Hizer le'seichel adam le'seichel achilasha hargos hargeyu aleyu." This is the Ben Sarimar is somebody who eats and drinks, and he gets a warning. He's a 12-year-old and he gets a warning: don't do it, and don't steal from your parents to fund your lavish lifestyle. And then he goes and he does it again after being warned. So that achila is going to cause him to get killed. So that's what he says. Don't do an achila that's going to end up in blood. All these things that we learned from the same pasuk, since it's a general lav, and we're learning a bunch of different dinim from it, you're not going to be chayiv malchus. So the Gemara asked the reason why we're saying that the neder and the dava, neder and shvua b'shem avodah zarah is not chayiv because it's lav shem b'maisa. But l'chayr, the Gemara is saying all these other different types of isurim like megafef and menashik, they're all learned from one pasuk, a variety of different isurim. So therefore, it should be considered a lav shebeklalos. It's not so clear. This is not a typical lav shebeklalos because it's really one. It seems to be one pasuk that tells you about the dinim of avodah zarah. Not so diverse. You could say you're learning a bunch of different dinim. You'll often have one pasuk that says, for example, that you can't be avodah zarah, and it tells you there's a bunch of dinim. There's a bunch of categories within avodah zarah. So the Mefarshim talk about why this would be considered a lav shebeklalos. So he says, Ella, Kiyas and Rav and Amar Rav Elazar, he's changed it around. Al kulin ein aloika. You're not going to be chayiv on all of them. The only one you're going to be chayiv on, you're going to bring a carbon on, is someone who's noid b'shem avodah zarah or who makes a shvua b'shem avodah zarah. Ma'ishna hanach d'loy lucky to have a lav shebeklalos. The reason why the others are not, the fact that the others are not chayiv because of lav shebeklalos. Hani nami lav she'en b'mais, and then we asked the reverse of the original question, that a person shouldn't be chayiv for making a shvua b'shem avodah zarah being noider. Huk Rabbi Yehuda. Well, this is like Rabbi Yehuda. Amar lav she'en b'mais like an love. He has no problem with a lav she'en b'mais. You can get malchus in it. The Tanya, you shouldn't leave over from a carbon till the next day. This is talking about the lav of nice. It says that if you do leave it, you should burn it. So that's the essay. It's a lav hanitik essay. It's a lav that has an essay to fix it up. Loy m'shein like an lav. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says you need a pasuk to tell you that noiser you're not chayiv to get malchus because it's a lav anitik essay, and therefore you don't get malchus. Yeah, Rabbi Yaakov Amar Lo Min Hashem was there. That's not the reason why you don't get malchus by noiser. Leaving over something is not a maisa; it's just passive. You're leaving it there. B'chol lav shein b'maisa ain't like enough. Rabbi Yaakov says a lav shein b'maisa is not like a love. Mechlal, Rabbi Yehuda Sava like a love. From the fact that Rabbi Yehuda says you need to come on to the lav hanitikal essay, he doesn't just say that every noise is potter, like Rabbi Yaakov would say, because it's a lav shein b'maisa. We see that Rabbi Yehuda does not agree. This comes up throughout Shas pretty often. Yehuda holds a lav shein b'maisa does get malchus. We're at the two dots on the top of Samach Gimel Amabes. Hanoide b'shmoi v'makayim b'shmoi hareza b'loisase. Someone who makes a neder b'shem of an avodah zarah, or makes a shvua b'shem of an avodah zarah, he's over on a loisase. Hanoide b'shem v'makayim b'shmoi minolan. Where do we see this from? The Tanya. B'shem elihim achem loisaskiru. You shouldn't mention other gods. Shaliyoyim adam l'chavei shmorli b'tzad avodas kechavim plainis. You shouldn't say, I'll meet you at St. Patrick's Cathedral. One is not allowed to use an avodah zarah as a landmark. My father always used to tell me this. You shouldn't say, say you make a left at the church. But I'm not sure that a church is considered avodah zarah. It's not clear to me that that's the case. But yeah, or even a mosque for that matter.
I'm alive, so I just want to stay away from that. You know?
Yeah. Well, Yishmael Picha. The pasuk says you shouldn't hear its name. It shouldn't be heard on your lips. That's That's it. You shouldn't make a neder. You say that I'm not going to eat today in the name of an avodah zarah, or Yekayim makes a shvua on an avodah zarah. This is why we only affirm in a court. We're not allowed to make a shvua on an avodah zarah. Well, we will say. Well, I guess the problem is just that we don't make shvuos altogether, right? Because it doesn't say specifically avodah zarah. You also shouldn't cause others to make a neder or shvua. Another thing that you learn out from La Yishmael Picha that shouldn't be heard on your lips is that you shouldn't cause someone else to be over avodah zarah, or cause a Iran Idachas to be over an avodah zarah. So talking about Meses Behedrik Siv Bei B'chol Yisrael Yishmu V'Yiro. The Lord says, what do you need this pasuk for? The Torah. This is the pasuk says specifically after it's saying that if someone convinces other people to be over avodah zarah, B'chol Yisrael Yishmu V'Yiro V'Lo Yisifu Laska Davar Zeh B'Kirecha Ella Azhar L'Meidiach. It's Azhara for a person who convinces a town to be an Irani Dachas to be follow avodah zarah. We said before, part of this brisa was that you shouldn't cause others to be over avodah zarah. This is not talking about a mace. It's not where you're convincing someone to make a shvu or neder b'shem and avodah zarah. This is not even facilitating it, even causing it to happen. And as he says, it's also for a person to make a partnership with a non-Jew. Maybe they'll come to court and they'll come and get into an argument, and then they'll have to go to a court case, and the guy, the Avodas Kechavim, will be forced to swear. And he'll end up making a shvu in his own avodas kechavim. You shouldn't cause that another person should make a shvua b'shem and avodah zarah.
You pass like this person?
I guess not. Yeah.
Shutras of the guy we see all the time.
Yeah. If you have to look up it's brought down over here from the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch. Because it seems there's a lot of Bayim Hagod, there's a Ramah, there's a whole thing going on about this. I'm sure there are exceptions. When Ula came up, Bavel, he stayed in a place called Navai. Amalei Rabba v'Hecha Basmar. Where did you stay? Amalei b'Kal Navai. I stayed at Kal Navai. Amalei b'Ksiv b'Shem Elihim Achem Loisaskiru. You shouldn't mention the names of other gods. And Bai says this Kal Navai was the St. Louis. It was St. Louis is a saint, so it's not the same thing, but that was the name of their god. Amalei Hachi Amar Rabbi Yochanan Kol Avodas Kechavim Haksuv b'Torah Mutar Lahaskishum. If the name is mentioned anywhere in Tanakh, then you are allowed to say it. But where is Kal Navai mentioned? The Chsiv Kara Baal Karas Navai. It's talking about different Avodah Zaros. It says he bends over for Baal and he karas and he relieves himself by Navai. V'loi ksiva loi. But if it's not written, you're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to say the name of an Avodah Zarah. Masav Mshasha Ra Achas Meruba Kishalish. If a person had a Rias Dam Ziva of Dam Zav, and it's the same length as 3, a person becomes a Zav Gamor when he has 3 Rias. Or if he had 1 Ria, but it lasted as long as 3, Shehi Kimikduyon Lashila. And that means the Riyah of Zavis was the same as the distance from Magdiya and Lashila, Shehin Shtei Tfilas V'Shnei Shivugin, which is the equivalent of having a Riyah, being Taival, and cleaning off, and drying off, and then doing it again. Harez Zav Gama, that will be treated as a Zav Gama. But the point of this all is that it says Kimegdayan, and Megdayan is the name of an Avodah Zarah. So how could you say that that wasn't mentioned in the pasuk l'chayra? So how could he use that as the example from Magdayan l'shila? Amravina God nami michta ksiva. It doesn't. The Torah does mention God. Ha'archem lagod shulchan. They set the table for God. Amar Rav Nachman. Kol atzinus asira. All litzanis is aser. We don't pass on like this. That we do. Chutz militzinasa. You're allowed to do a litzanis in other, so it's okay. Chutz mitzilitzenusa davayis kecham. You're allowed to make fun of davayis kecham. The shari, the chsev karabal karus navay. It's talking about it talks about a person relieving themselves, that the avodah zarah basically relieves themselves. Karsu kara yachtav layuchtu malat masa. They pull their legs together and they're not able to hold on to the burden. It's a way of saying that they're like the avodah zarah is constipated. Dibru la'agalos beis avan. Speak to the agalos of beis avan. Yaguru, they live. Shaykhin Shemran, they live in the Shemran. Ki aval of amai, they're mourning them. Ukamar of alav yagilu al kvoidei. Kigala mimenu. Al tikri kvoidei el kvedei. Instead of say al kvoidei, their honor, say al kvedei on their burden. Again, the same sort of thing, that they're burdened with their full stomachs, their full intestines. It's a way of mocking avodah zarah. They continued to sin and they made idols. They were ketunas atzavim. They made them in their shapes. My ketunas atzavim. What does that mean? What is the title of ketunas? What is atzavim? Atzavim is their. Let me see if it says it.
Good.
Atzavim.
The shapes.
Tuna is the shapes. So that's some of their faces. I guess.
The shapes of the shapes of idols.
The shapes of the idols, right? Every yid, unfortunately, made a small idol of they made a figure. They would put it in their pocket. When he would think about it, he would take it out and hug it and kiss it. This is the never avodah zarah that the yidden were nechshel.
How's the pasuk? Someone mind. So we're saying, what does that pasuk mean? It's referring to this type of avodah zarah. So we're saying
it's talking about what we're going to say. What
Okay, fine.
We're saying how the Yidden would dan avodah zarah. We're going to say right there in that. My zoivchei adam agolim yishkain, the slaughtering that a person does of agolim yishkain. Amar Yitzchak the Beir Rebbe Ami Shahayu Mishasei Avodas Kechav Noisne Beineim Bali Mammon. It says the Zayvchei Adam, those who shecht people, agolim yishkan, they're going to kiss their agolim. What's this? What is this talking about? Amar Yisrael the Beir Rebbe Ami Shahayu Mishasei Avodas Kechav Noisne Beineim Bali Mammon. They would see people who are wealthy, Mariven es agolim, and then they would starve their calves. V'oisen demus atzavam. They would put the figures of these rich people in front of the agalim. They put it next to the troughs of the calves. And then they would take the calves outside. When they would see the people who they had seen their pictures next to their troughs, and they were very hungry, and they would go, and the calves would go run after these wealthy people. And then the priest would say to them, you see these calves are running after you, it's a simon that this avodah zarah has a special affection for you. You should go and we should shecht you for them. There's different mafarshim. Either it means that they basically strong arm them. They said, "Oh, you were chosen to be a human sacrifice, but if you want to save yourself, pay us up, and we'll let you live." Or they would convince them to pay, to give money to shecht something else. Amar Rabba, he says the pasuk should be the other way around. They first show the pictures to the agalim, or the agalim go over to them, and then the person gets, or is proposed that he's going to get sacrificed. So the pasuk is in the wrong order. And whoever sacrifices child to Avodas Chavim, he says you've gotten a great reward, and you should go and kiss it. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav, V'anchi Bavel Asu es Sakos Benois. That was the name of their avodah zarah, Sakos Banis. Ma'aniu Tarnagolis. That's a Tarnagolis. It's something about bonus that a tarnagol, it's a hen, that a hen has eggs, so that's bonus is a reference to tarnagols. But Anchi Kus also is nargol, they made a nargol. My new tarnagol. Nargol sounds like tarnagol, that's a rooster. But Anchi Chamas also is Ashima, they made a shima. My new Borcha Karcha, a bald goat. It refers to a goat. But even also as Nivchan as Tartik, or my new Kelev v'Chamor. Nivchan and Tartik, Rashi says he doesn't know exactly how Tartik refers to Chamor. Nivchan he has a pshat, but that was what their avodah zarah was. V'Safravim Sarfim es B'neim Be'esh La'adar Malach v'Ana Malach. They would sacrifice their children to Adar Melech v'Ana Melech. Hey Safravim. Umayniu hapered v'asos. They would sacrifice to these kings. Adar Melech v'Ana Melech Alhei Safravim. Umayniu hapered v'asos. That was the donkey and the goat and the horse. Adar Melech the other leilamare. Adar Melech is a feather, a mule or a donkey, because it carries things for its master. The te'ina. But Ana Melech the ani leilamare bekarva. And Ana Melech is a horse that he carries his master in battle. Av Chizkiah Melech Yehuda bikash av lasos loikein. Chizkiah Melech Yehuda also wanted to sacrifice his son. Elech she sachacho imoy sandam salamandra. She covered him with her sandamandra, which Rashi says that it was fire resistant. So even though you put him in the fire, he didn't get burned. It's not so simple. It's like a whole way that it would make salamander, that it would like cook it for sex, and then it would become fire resistant. There's nothing to it. The whole reason why the Ovid Avodah Zarah was just the gateway drug to Arayis. Most of them are Shashia. Kazachur b'neihem mizvachayseim. Kizchor b'neihem zachayim v'ashereim al eitz ranan al nivos hagavoyis. It says that they remember their Avodah Zarah like their children. It seems that the Yidden had a genuine following of Avodah Zarah. Like a person is attached to their child, to their son. When he leaves it. I'm sorry. Basadaviko is a teretz. Basadaviko, after what happens is they first follow them lavav in order to be nichnas to Gili Arayis, and once they got into the Avodah Zarah, then they start to have a genuine affection for it. I'm going to put your corpses on top of the corpses of your Avodah Zarah. He was going around on the bloated, starving people in Yerushalayim. He was bloated and he was in the garbage dump. Which mishpacha are you part of? From this mishpacha. Is there anyone left from your whole family? I'm the only one. If I could teach you something that you can live by, you're going to learn it? Hey, and he said yes. You have to say Shema Yisrael, and you're going to be saved from the Rav. Has. He said, be quiet. Shaloi lahaskir, Shem Hashem. Shaloi lahaskir, Shem Hashem, Shaloi limdu avav v'imai. I don't want to hear a Shem Hashem that I didn't hear from my parents. And this starving child took out his Avodah Zarah from his pocket and he started to hug it and kiss it. Until he died, his stomach split from starvation and he fell down. And his little idol fell on the ground, and if he fell on it. He fell on top on it. This is a makiyam of what it said, that your corpses will fall on the corpses of your idols. So you see that this kid was clearly very dedicated to his Avodah Zarah. Again, once the family got involved in it, they were committed. Toshma, my Amr. They called out with a koil gadol el Hashem Elokeichem, my Amr. Amr of Yehuda, Vitem Rabbi Yonasan, Baya. They said, Vei, Hainu the Achre Lebeisa, Vakalya Lahechala, Vachanul Tzadika, Vaglinal Yisrael Me'arayu. What was this? He destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. They were asking. They destroyed our Beis Hamikdash. They destroyed our Heichal. Kanul Tzadike. They killed our Tzadikim. Vaglinul Yisrael. We were sent out of our Eretz. V'adayin hu meraket beinon. And he's still dancing among us. Klum yavisol an el likbule be'agra. Was the base. This is the Anshe Bet Knesset Agdel. They said, why are we giving the Yetzer Hara? He caused all these bad things to happen to us. The only reason it was given is that we should get a reward. But look how bad it's turning out. We're not getting a reward, we're getting punished. We don't need the Yetzer Hara, and we don't need the reward. So you see that Yidden were taka following the Zara for itself. Anshe Knesset Agdel is the famous Gemara. It's the Hara for Avodah Zarah. Knesset Agdel destroyed the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah. Right? So it was the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah. It wasn't the Yetzer Hara for Gilui Arayis. So come on, it's like a drug. The reason for starting was for Avodah Zarah, but once they were involved, there was an extremely strong Yetzer Hara to continue with it. Yosvu Tlosi Yumi Betanisa. Anshe Knesagdelu sat for 3 days in Tainus. Bo Rachme, and they asked for Dave Davin. Novalu Piska Merakia. A letter came from the Shemaim. The Haviksiba Emes says, we're going to give you what you wanted. We're taking away the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah. Amr Chanina Shmami no Chayis B'Shar Kodesh Baruch Hu Emes. You see that the Chaysim of Kodesh Baruch Hu was Emes. That was the way he answered. Nofik Kiguria Denuria Beis Kodesh Kodashim. A small lion, a lion made out of fire, came out of the base Kodesh Kodashim, which represented the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah. Amru Novel Yisrael Hainu Yitzur Da Avodah Zarah. That's the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah that's leaving. Bahadi de Katav Silei, as he was. Well, I didn't think I was going to get this far. As it was coming out, as they were grabbing it, they were able to grab a hair from it. And the lion made a roar that was heard for 400 parsim. What should we do? Maybe they're having rachmanis on this avodah zarah, on this Yetzer Hara. Amalei Navi Shadayu Beduda da Avra. Put it in a lead. Put this lion in a lead container, which is very soundproof. The shayiv color. Put it in. Cover it with more lead, and that will dampen the sound, and they won't hear in B'Shamayim. The chshuv v'yom is ois harashav v'yishlach ois el toicha efa. The yishlach is evan ha'eferes al pia. That they took it and they took. I don't remember what the context of this was. It's in Zechariah. You should throw it into a container and cover it over. Every hayel ve'eis rotzen who nevi rachmi ayitzra da'aveira. They said since the Rebbeinu Shalom took away the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah, maybe we should take away Yetzer Hara and Gansen. Bo rachmi, they asked imsabi adayu, and they put it into their hands. Chashvu tlosiyum, they put it away for 3 days. Iboy biisa bas yuma l'chayla v'layishkachu. I would say they want to take away the Yetzer Hara for Gilead Arayis, but or maybe for all Yetzer. So, but they wanted to find an egg. They needed an egg to help a sick person. They couldn't find one since once they took away the Yetzer, the desire. So there was no. The roosters were not fertilizing the chickens, the hens. There was no fertilization. There was no reproduction. Right. Yeah. Right. Amru Hechi Navid, Niboy Palgo Kalba Merkia. Niboy Palgo, let's ask for the diminution of the Yetzer. Palgo Merkil Ayavi, the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't reduce, it takes away or not. Kachlenu Le'ene. They blinded its eyes. Ahani Ibei Delay Igri Inshi Bekrevise. It helped that it reduced the Yetzer Hara, that people were no longer attracted to their krivim. Okay, I guess we'll stop over here. Let's just continue with this.